In the landscape of modern education, the quest to improve student outcomes is both perennial and urgent. Teachers, administrators, and policymakers alike grapple with the challenge of ensuring that students not only retain information, but also develop the skills and understanding necessary to thrive in a rapidly changing world. Amidst an array of pedagogical strategies, one approach stands out for its clarity and efficacy: the use of measurable learning objectives. When thoughtfully crafted and systematically implemented, measurable learning objectives serve as a powerful tool to guide instruction, inform assessment, and ultimately enhance student achievement. At its core, a measurable learning objective articulates, in clear and specific terms, what students are expected to know, do, or value by the end of a lesson, unit, or course. Unlike vague or generalized goals, such as understand photosynthesis or appreciate literature, measurable objectives define observable and accessible outcomes. For example, students will be able to describe the steps of photosynthesis and explain their significance using scientific terminology. Or, students will analyze the themes of a literary work and support their interpretations with textual evidence. By specifying the desired performance, conditions, and criteria for success, measurable objectives provide a roadmap for both teachers and learners. The benefits of this approach are manifold. First and foremost, measurable learning objectives bring focus and intentionality to the teaching and learning process. When objectives are clearly stated at the outset, teachers can design lessons and activities that directly align with these goals, avoiding the pitfalls of tangential content or unfocused instruction. Students, in turn, gain a transparent understanding of what is expected of them, which fosters motivation and self-regulation. The clarity offered by measurable objectives demystifies the learning process, enabling students to set personal goals, monitor their progress, and seek targeted support when needed. Moreover, measurable learning objectives serve as the foundation for effective assessment. In the absence of clearly defined outcomes, it is difficult to determine whether students have actually learned what was intended. Measurable objectives allow teachers to create assessments, whether formative or summative, that directly evaluate the specified knowledge or skills. This alignment between objectives and assessment not only ensures fairness, but also provides meaningful feedback to students. Rather than receiving generic grades or comments, students can see precisely which objectives they have mastered and where further effort is required. Such targeted feedback is essential for closing learning gaps and promoting continuous improvement. The power of measurable learning objectives extends beyond the classroom, informing curriculum development and educational policy. At the program or institutional level, well-defined objectives enable educators to map curricula, identify redundancies or gaps, and ensure coherence across grade levels or subject areas. This systematic approach supports vertical and horizontal alignment, making certain that students build upon prior knowledge and skills in a logical progression. Furthermore, measurable objectives facilitate data-driven decision-making. By collecting and analyzing evidence of student attainment relative to specific objectives, schools and districts can identify strengths, diagnose areas for growth, and allocate resources more effectively. Importantly, the process of crafting measurable learning objectives encourages educators to reflect deeply on the purpose and value of their instruction. It requires them to consider not just what content to cover, but why it matters and how it will impact students' lives. This intentionality promotes a shift from teacher-centered delivery to learner-centered engagement as teachers design experiences that empower students to actively construct meaning and demonstrate understanding. In this way, measurable objectives become a catalyst for innovative pedagogy, fostering inquiry, collaboration, and higher-order thinking. Despite the clear advantages, the implementation of measurable learning objectives is not without challenges. It demands a shift in mindset and practice, often requiring professional development and sustained support. Teachers must learn to write objectives that are both specific and attainable, avoiding overly broad or trivial goals. They must also develop the capacity to design assessments and instructional activities that authentically measure and promote the desired outcomes. This process can be time-consuming, particularly in the early stages, but the long-term benefits for student learning are substantial. To maximize the impact of measurable learning objectives, it is essential to involve students in the process. When students participate in setting learning goals, they take greater ownership of their education and are more likely to engage deeply with the material. Teachers can encourage students to reflect on objectives, self-assess their progress, and set action plans for improvement. This collaborative approach nurtures metacognitive skills, resilience, and a growth mindset, all critical attributes for lifelong learning. Furthermore, measurable learning objectives can be a powerful lever for equity in education. By making expectations explicit and transparent, they help to level the playing field for all students, regardless of background or prior experience. Clear objectives reduce ambiguity and minimize the risk of bias in assessment, ensuring that every student has a fair opportunity to succeed. When combined with differentiated instruction and culturally responsive pedagogy, measurable objectives can help to close achievement gaps and promote inclusive excellence. In the digital age, technology offers new possibilities for leveraging measurable learning objectives to improve student outcomes. Learning management systems, adaptive software, and data analytics tools enable teachers to track student progress in real time, personalize instruction, and intervene promptly when difficulties arise. These innovations amplify the effectiveness of measurable objectives, making it easier to monitor learning, provide feedback, and celebrate growth. Ultimately, the power of measurable learning objectives lies in their capacity to transform education from a passive transmission of information to an active, purposeful, and student-centered endeavor. They provide the structure and clarity needed to navigate the complexity of teaching and learning, empowering both educators and students to reach their full potential. As schools continue to evolve in response to new challenges and opportunities, the commitment to clear, measurable objectives will remain a cornerstone of effective practice, a guiding light on the path to improved student outcomes.